Hello, everyone. This is Paula Harris from Boulder, Colorado again, and I'm so excited with this interview because it is another international interview. And that is something, as an international researcher, I'm happy to be able to provide for an American audience. So often with ufology and other research studies, we get to be country centric. You know, everything is United States, everything is from here, all the truth comes out of here, and so forth. So one of the things that I can offer to you on my Patreon channel is different, is that I have connections all over the world. I've just spoken to Maurizio Bayada in Rome a few minutes ago. I'm going to be speaking to a very wonderful guy that I just met this year, thanks to his great movie, Witness to Another World. I want to present you with Alan Stivelman. Alan, hi.
Hi, Paola. How are you? Thanks
Good.
for having me.
Tell us where you are.
Well, now I'm my parents' house in Buenos Aires, Argentina, because while I was having my vacations visiting my parents, we are in a full lockdown in Argentina, so I cannot move from my parents' house.
So you have to stay there until you don't know when.
Exactly. I was going to move with my girlfriend to Spain. That's the place where we used to live. But now we are facing this horrible situation, this worldwide pandemic issue, and we are seeing what happens every day.
Well, is it very difficult for you, or because you're a very creative person, how are you living this? Are you writing? Are you creating something, or what are you doing daily?
Well, that's an excellent question, because the first 2 weeks, I tried to put all my creative energy and start writing and reading plenty of books because I'm preparing the development of my next project. But because of the lockdown was like updating every week, at first we were supposed to be in a lockdown for 10 days, but now we are in the week 4. Probably we are going to have 7. And the last week I was a little bit frustrated and sad because the news are not good, and I was a little bit lack of focus for my works. Yes, so it's
Well,
not...
it is hard, Alan. It's not easy, especially to be in lockdown and in the house and all that period of time. So, you know, our viewers understand, because we're in lockdown too, that this is all over the world, that this pandemic is happening, and even creative people like you get frustrated. We all get frustrated at this time. So I wanted to ask you, in your career, and describe your career. What was the first film that you worked on, and how do you get your inspiration for these films?
Well, my first film was Humano. It's a feature documentary that was finished and released on in the 2013. But my career started when I was 15. I was studying IT programming. I was supposed to be a geek programmer because I was an IT guy. But when I was having a discussion with my literature professor, we were discussing about an artist from Chile, Alexander Jodorowsky, and we were both fan of his films and his literature. And when I saw his film El Topo, the mole, I realized that the impact that that film got on me, on my conscience, was so big that I decided on that moment that I want to transmit that feeling to the people. And that's where I decided to start studying film arts. And when I was 18, I went to film school. And at the age of 24, because I was experiencing an existential crisis, very big, I decided to make a trip to the Andes, to Peru and Bolivia. to find the roots of an ancient lost civilization in the Americas. But in another level, I was trying to find myself, but I didn't know that. When I went there, when I went to the Andes, I met a shaman in the Lake Titicaca, and he asked me what I was doing there. And I told him about I wrote 200 questions on a notebook, mostly existential questions. What is life? What is death? Why are we here? Questions about this lost civilization that in the Andes, they were known as the Huiracochas. And he listened to me everything, but at the end he replied and he said something like, if you want to learn about humanity, first you have to be human. And I replied to him saying something like, I'm not human being. No, you are not. And then after some hours of chatting, I realized that in the Andean tradition or the Andean worldview is like a path to understand that meaning. Like human beings, it's not equal to Homo sapiens sapiens. It's more like a state of awareness or a state of mind that we need to achieve. Everyone born as a human being in a biology point of view, but not in a philosophical point of view. So we spent like six months in Peru with him, with that shaman, and that journey, I was able to record 50% of the experiences. And then when I came back to Argentina, I started to edit that footage, and that footage became a movie called Humano, and it was shared to the world. It was on Netflix, fortunately, plenty other platforms. It was on Amazon Prime, etc. It was viewed for more than 6 million people all over the globe. It was a really good success. And after that, I made another movie called Witness of Another World, and it was the excuse to meet you.
So in other words, that's so beautifully said. Alan, you know, you really explained it very well because you explained it sequentially. You know, you explained it to the people that are listening and viewing you as a journey that a lot of people have made. You know, even in my life, a lot of this is a journey.
Yes.
And so you started with are you in the film? The one that, I mean, if they
yes.
want to know, you're in it.
And it was really funny because my idea was just to expose the answers of the shaman and the community. But during the film, during this journey, we were like two friends, like joking, asking questions, replying. It was really fun because in that moment, I was not aware that I was making a film. I was just shooting and recording my experience, like a journey diary, but in film. But in the middle of this question, or after he replied all my question, he grabbed my camera and pointed to me and said, "What do you think about this?" And all the answer or all the scenes that I'm in the movie is because of him. The shaman want me to be on the film too. I don't know why, but that's the reason why I appear in the film.
Well, the shaman knows that this was about you. In the
Yeah.
end. I mean, it's not an accident. You weren't on vacation there. This was about you. But Alan, when we watch it, you said Netflix and Amazon Prime. Is it in Spanish or is that subtitles?
Well, now it's not available, but on May 5th, May 5, it will be released on all platforms, including Amazon Prime, and it will have English subtitles, French subtitles, German subtitle, Italian. It will be plenty of languages available.
Okay, so people that don't know you, I mean, they've got this false notion that you're a UFO researcher. UFOs are just part of the journey, from
Yeah.
what I understand. It isn't like you go out and look at UFOs everywhere. What made you want to do Witness to Another World? I know that we'll talk a little bit about Jacques Vallée during this, but was it because you were interested in the case, or because it was close
Mm,
to you, or what made you want to do a film about this?
that's that's a good question, and I have to be honest with you. I was not quite interested on the UFO phenomenon directly because my perception of the phenomenon was a little bit like a bizarre phenomenon. Uh, it was a little bit away from me, even that I had two experiences with the phenomenon. One was in Cusco in Peru while I was doing this film Humano, and I had an impact because I have a physical ill during 24 hours. I was with the if I want to, do you want to hear the little story?
Sure, absolutely.
I was with Placido, that's the name of the shaman, and we were drinking beer and seeing the stars and talking about life, about death, joking around. And suddenly there is a small star that's starting to move like a little dance. And I was having in my head a headlamp, like the miners, and I start to make like flashes to that light, and the shaman started to laugh. Ho, 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 what are you doing? What are you saying? And I told him like, I'm telling them that if they came in peace, come down and take a beer with us. I was not like seeing that as a real thing. I was just joking. But after that, I asked him, that's a satellite, and he told me, no, a satellite is that light. See the precision of the movement, and this light was something like very erratic movement, and suddenly that light disappeared. We went inside the house. We went to sleep, and 2 o'clock in the morning, around 2 o'clock, yeah. Every night I woke up 2 o'clock in the morning because I want to go to pee. In the Andes with a lot of freeze, it's really cold, and at that time, approximately, I need to go to the bathroom. And suddenly, when I woke up, I was not able to open my eyes. I touched them, and I found out that there were like, instead of these eyes, I had like balls inside of at the top of my eyes, like very big rounded balls. That, and I said, oh my god, what is this? And I took my camera, I turned it on, and I saw like my face was like I was having like an inflammation in my eyes, very big, and I was not able to see it. I remember that I said, oh my god, I'm the elephant man in David Lynch movie. And I said, okay, Alan, calm down, you are not allergic, nothing, you don't have ills, go to bed, sleep well. Probably the cold made you this thing. And 7 a.m. when I went to the living room, because I was living with the shaman's family, the wife of the shaman saw me, and she said, oh my god, what happened to you? If you don't know, you are going to make me like scream. And he told me that, okay, go to bed, I will talk to Placido, because he was in the mountains doing some rituals. And when he came back, I was feeling a little bit better, but he asked to the coca lips. The coca lips is the way that it's like similar to tarot for their, to, if they want to seek some knowledge from the highest realms, they ask to
Similar
the,
to tarot cards for the people that do the
yeah,
tarot cards. So they use coca leaves. Okay.
exactly. And the answer that he got is that I saw something that I was not allowed to see, or my body was not prepared to see it. And then we realized that the light that we saw the night before was the light that provoked me this, just to telling me that the invisible world was real. And after that, all the journey shift to understand the invisible world, because I was like, he told me that my consciousness was broken into two. My physical world was skeptical, but my spirit was like a believer. And I need to like put all these two pieces together, my mind and my heart. And the whole journey was like fixed to, yeah, it was like for for example, one of the most special moments that I had in the Andes was the encounter that I had with the apus. The apus for the Andes are like the angels, or the big brothers. I don't know how to say.
Let me stop for 1 minute. I'm very, very um, familiar with the Apunians because I was in Peru last year and went to a Huascaran. So I'm very, the people from Apunia, the Apus, they come from Apu, which is the planet, you know, in Alpha Centauri. You're talking about extraterrestrials when you're talking about this, right?
Well, the shamans didn't use the word extraterrestrials, but because they don't have it in their language, but for them are the guardians of the earth.
The guardians are the angels, the guardians and the
Exactly.
angels that live here.
Exactly.
Yes, okay.
And I had an encounter. It was 2 days before I came back to Argentina, and it was the most profound experience that I ever had, because I'm not a, it's one of the scenes of the movie is a recreation of drawings of my own experience with the apus. It's really hard to explain, but in that time, while I was doing this trip, in my own consciousness, it was a very big impact, because I was able to understand how the invisible world works. And I understood after 6 months why the shaman told me that I was not prepared in that moment, because it was the experience with the UFO. It was at the beginning of my journey, the month 1, and the experience with the apus, it was at the latest stage of the trip. It was month 6. So it was cyclical for me, because I was able to close a circle in order to understand the way of how the invisible world works. Because at the beginning of the journey, I was very skeptical on the idea of God or other ways of beings. I was an IT guy, very narrow-minded.
No, I think that's our childhood. I think it isn't so much, that's how we're brought up. So this journey was part of your destiny. And Alan, you have a great way of explaining things. I mean, as you're explaining, I can see everything you're saying. I'll ask you one last question about this particular situation, then let's go on to making of Witness to Another World. In this situation, you said, did you have a physical encounter? I know you understood the invisible world, but
Yes.
can you talk about the physical encounter?
I will try. It was a small house that the highest priest, the name of these shamans are Alto Misayok. Alto Misayok is another level of shamanism. The Andean shamanism is divided in different stages. The shaman that appears in the movie, the role is Pampa Misayok. Pampa Misayok is the one who can control the energy of the living nature. For example, he can change the condition of the water. He can contact the stones, the trees, all living nature. But the Alto Misayok is a way of shamanism that they can contact other realms, like the Apus. The Apus are in another frequency or another realm, and they can call them to come and make like a real contact in this physical world. But we cannot see them. We have to cover our eyes. All the room has to be in total black. Not even a small candle, nothing. And I was in this very simple room in the mountains without electricity. It was this shaman, this Maria de Alto Misa, his three sons, Plácido, and myself. And she called them, doing some movement with his magical stones, and they came. One voice at first, it was a male voice, very big, like, and that voice like moved everything inside of this house. It was really, I cannot recreate it because it was really, really big and loud. At first, I thought that it was like Maria, this Alto Misa, having a trance, and say, okay, what is this? And suddenly this voice starting to say, Alan, Alan, oh, Argentina, Buenos Aires, oh, hermano, hermano. Hermano means brother, brother. Alan, Alan, Argentina, oh. He was saying like, oh, because, oh, you came far, far away from where are we now. Thank you for being here. He was speaking in Quechua language, not Spanish, not English. So it was really hard to understand. And thanks that I had Plácido, who was able to translate me. But at first I was not, I was really afraid because my mind was saying, this is not true, this is not happening. This is I don't know, but this is not real. This cannot be possible. But suddenly this shaman or this voice started to speak with the shaman. So it was not a trance. We were having a real voice coming from nowhere who was speaking to all of us. And the moment that I knew that something weird was happening was the moment that this voice started to say things about my life that I didn't tell to nobody. So I said, oh my God, this could be true. And I was really afraid because 5 minutes ago at the beginning of the ceremony, the shamans told me that they need to put some tools in the floor, wine, chocolates, roses for this apus, and also how do I say, like the thing that Indiana Jones has when he swipe.
A whip. A whip.
A whip. Because the apus could use the whip to hit us if we are thinking something that is not good. So they are allowed to hit us. Oh my God, they are going to hit me. I was really scared. And it lasts like 30 minutes. And at the end of this ceremony, another voice came, another apu, a female voice, very, very tiny voice, very, it was like, very, very loud and tiny. And it was the wife of this Apu Carvajal. And both of these Apus are the Apus or the guardians of this shaman. Because every Alto Misayok has 7 Apus that protects her from the invisible world.
So if her or him?
Her.
Her, okay, ultimate, okay.
Because it is really common to have fights. One shaman from one tribe and one shaman from another tribe fights in this invisible world with the Apus. So one apple from one side to fights the other apple from the other side. So that's the invisible fightings are thanks to the apples. So that's the reason why one shaman could steal another's apple. So it's really a mess, and it's really hard to explain how that works. But one of the things that I got from that experience was having a surreal experience, but also I was able to know who is my Apu, and it's a mountain from Cordoba, from Argentina. Because
Uritorco.
No, it's near Uritorco, it's Champaqui. It's in the south of Cordoba.
It's in the south of Cordoba. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you write about this anywhere?
No, I was asked to write it like 100 times, but no, I was not.
Because you should. I mean, I want to know more, but I want to know more about the description of how you were feeling and how you changed your mind and what they said. If you ever do that, you know, Ellen, there's a lot of literature out there, but yours is a real experience, and it helps us understand the invisible world.
Yeah.
So I think I'm the first one to encourage you to please write about this encounter. You know, you did Witness to Another World with Jacques, and he believes that it isn't only interplanetary, that it could be interdimensional, it could be here already. Whatever the phenomena is could be living with us. It doesn't need to come from far away. So these ideas, these cultural ideas of your encounter, take away the idea of an abduction because you wanted to have the experience. You did it with a pure heart, and you were able to contact something that is already here, which will change the view of entire ufology, which our entire ufology, unfortunately, is abductions of little gray aliens. And so, you know, that would help your experience would say in other countries, culturally, we have other kinds of contact, and they're just as real. You know, maybe here they have them too, but they don't talk about them. So let's go to then, what made you do Witness to Another World? You came back, and did you hear about this story?
Well, it's funny because there are several events that happened that led me to meet Juan. At first, I was writing a script. I was doing automatic writing, and I realized that I was writing a story about a couple that she had an abduction experience, and she got pregnant, and after 12 pages, I said to myself, why I'm writing this kind of stuff? Because abduction was not my theme. But then I started to realize that this theme could be really interesting. And I bought a book from John Mack. That was my first book of UFO phenomenon. And then I ate all the books from Jacques Vallée. And after 2 years of digging about the UFO phenomenon, I was able to meet Dr. Nestor Berlanda, a psychiatrist from Argentina. And while I was having a dinner with him, he showed me in his computer a small footage of Juan, the main character of the movie. And he was 18 years old by that time, and he was making like a public lecture about his case. And when he started to speak to the audience, he broke down. He was not able to continue his speaking. He broke down into tears, and he said something like, "You won't believe me." And the public and the audience was UFO fans, because it was a congress about UFO in a small village outside in the countryside of Argentina. And it's funny because that people wanted to believe, but he thought, oh no, nobody is gonna believe me. And I felt, when I saw that footage, I felt really, really connected with him, because I saw that he was suffering and saying, and his feelings were actually true. And I jumped from the seat, and I said to Dr. Berlanda that I wanted to meet that guy. I wanted to go to the countryside and meet Juan. And after 4 months of pre-production, we were able to go to Acevedo. That was the name of the town that he was living. And we went there, and I met Juan. It was a very emotional meeting, because at the first moment that we were next to him, he was like giving hugs, because we were visiting him, and he started to speak about what happened when he was 12. And again, he broke down into tears, and I realized that he was in that time he was 48 years old, but his eyes were the same at when I saw that footage. And I said, and I thought to myself that this man, like, his life was stopped when he was 12 years old.
Okay, let's stop right here for a minute, Destin.